Hi guys, my name is Sarah. I'm a mindset mastery coach, transformational hypnotherapist, and attachment style specialist. I bring you videos on attachment style. Specifically, I talk a lot about dismissive avoidant attachment style because a lot of you are healing from that right now. But really, my main goal is to inform you of your own attachment style so that you can begin the healing process to becoming whole within yourself, especially my anxiously attached or my fearful avoidants like myself out there. It's really important that we get a strong sense of self so that we can anchor into that and really just center our experiences around our healing process rather than looking outward. However, I do deliver videos talking about what is happening in the mind of the dismissive avoidant X because I think it's important that we have that understanding. That's part of the healing process, to understand the dynamic and then ultimately to move forward from that. And we get to a place where we're no longer seeking the validation externally or asking those questions. Now, if you're really on the path to healing and you already have the understanding, check out my most recent video. It is all about receiving emotional closure from yourself. It's a beautiful guided visualization and meditation, and you can check that out. I'll put the link below. If you'd like to work with me one-on-one, there's also a link below to book a discovery call for that. But today's video, we're focusing on what is your dismissive avoidant X doing right now? What are they doing right now? And the reason I wanted to make this video is because a lot of you are wondering, how are they living without me? They just discarded me, there was no conversation, or they ghosted, or they refused to talk about what happened inside of the relationship. And so you were left literally with no closure, trying to figure out, could I have done something different? What could have inspired maybe a different outcome? And I'm here to tell you that nothing could have changed this from happening. There is a wiring inside, a neurological wiring inside of a dismissive avoidant's mind. Their nervous system is going to respond to events accordingly. There's nothing that their partner can do to make that different. We cannot heal them. We can't even throw them our life vest because they don't want it. But also, we shouldn't be giving them our life vest. We need to be keeping our own life vest. So all of my anxious attachers, fearful avoidants out there, keep your life vest. We can't save anybody, nor are we supposed to. And actually, when we're doing that, when we're trying to save somebody else or we're trying to make them into this fantasy version that maybe they showed us in the beginning, we're actually doing both them and us a huge disservice. Okay, so we're going to explore what might be happening based on what your dismissive avoidant X, what they showed you, based on what we know about the dismissive avoidant attachment style, which all of these insecure attachment styles born in childhood, but then they can be further shaped by events and relationships that occur after childhood. So your adult relationships or even early adult relationships can absolutely shape your attachment style, and it's dynamic. It can change. It's a spectrum. You're not just a dismissive avoidant for life, and you can absolutely heal. So if they're still avoidant or emotionally defended, what might they be doing several months, let's say 6 to 8 months down the line? They're probably not sitting in stillness, reflecting deeply, like you are. They're probably not watching these videos, okay? And if they are, they're doing it in silence, and they might be mocking the videos, or they're not gonna tell anybody that they're doing this. Could they be in therapy? Absolutely. Is it likely? Not so much. Remember, their whole attachment style, it's about avoiding their feelings. It wasn't safe for them in childhood to express their feelings because they got rejected. They were basically, as children, they were appreciated for their talents, for their intelligence, for the goals they met, and that's why they're so goal-driven and logical as adults, whether male or female, is because in their childhood, they didn't feel special. They were signaled out, in the family or in the community for the things that they did, not for who they were. They were never really appreciated for who they were. So they're probably keeping busy. Hobbies, they might even be casually dating, just trying to take their mind off of what happened. What they're probably not doing is reflecting or analyzing like you are. So filling time with distractions, work, hobbies, logistics, just surface level stuff, everyday stuff, day-to-day stuff, keeping their calendar, just keeping it as busy as possible. And maybe even rewriting the narrative, guys. And I know this is gonna upset some of you or even anger some of you, and that's okay, but rewriting the narrative of what actually happened inside of the relationship. So telling themselves like, no, I wasn't really the bad guy. I showed up fully and completely. I did the best that I could. They just didn't appreciate me. Or, they left and, I offered for them to stay and they didn't want to work on it. When in reality, you were fighting for the relationship and you were trying to pull them close. You were doing your very best to try to knock their walls down. But the reason they're doing this and rewriting the narrative is because they don't want to feel the shame of their actions or their decisions, especially if they're the ones who ended it, which a lot of the times the avoidant is the one who ends it. So they might be possibly dating casually, like I said, but not necessarily because they've moved on. People always assume, oh, they're dating or they're on the apps, they've moved on. No, they're filling their time, they're distracting themselves, and because intimacy feels easier when it's shallow because it's not going to trigger them. So somebody that doesn't know them or know their habits or patterns or attachment style isn't going to get the full version of them. Just like in the beginning of your relationship, you didn't get the full version of them. You got what they wanted you to see and what they were capable of in that moment when things weren't serious. So they're capable of giving a lot more and opening up a lot more when things aren't serious. So internally, there's going to be these flickers of grief, these moments where they have memories cross their mind, but they don't usually share this, and ultimately they're not going to reach out and tell you that they miss you, but they will be triggers. They'll hear a song or they'll see a picture or somebody will mention your name. Like, I saw so-and-so on social media, or I ran into so-and-so at the grocery store, and they'll try to brush it off, but internally it will sort of throw off the whole trajectory of their day. But they push these flickers of emotion or memories down pretty fast because feeling means vulnerability, and vulnerability is what they run from, right? It's what they dismiss. It's what they sort of discard. The reason why they have trouble holding other people's feelings, by the way, is because they don't even know how to hold their own feelings. They don't even know how to process their own feelings, their own experiences. So how could they process yours? So let's talk about what might be missing in their life. So oftentimes in a breakup, a dismissive avoidant will feel like an emptiness or a hollowness or a shallowness, like going through their day-to-day life, but in those quiet moments when the sun is setting, the animals are fed and the kids are in bed and they're alone and they're going, God, something's missing. But they won't necessarily correlate that to your exit and to the relationship breakdown or to the divorce. They're going to look at that and just go, I don't know. I just feel like, and they'll even express this to friends and family. I'm just lonely. Something's missing. What's truly missing is their own connection to themselves, but also they're likely missing you, the warmth that you brought, the depth that you brought, the connection that you tried to forge and create, the ways in which you fought for this relationship like nobody else had in their life, the ways in which you were able to knock down some of their walls, even if it was just a tiny little bit. They're remembering that and they're missing that, but they don't really know that necessarily on a conscious level. So they likely miss the stability that you brought, the emotional depth and honesty that you were able to offer, even if it meant, dredging up their demons, right? And triggering them. That was still like you were a mirror, and they can miss that. The fact that you were someone who saw them more clearly than they were ever ready to be seen. And the quiet intimacy of being known, even when things were hard. Sometimes of just having that person, the other body in the house, even when things were hard, can be comforting to both people. I can imagine you would feel that way too. But they mourn it sideways and in their own way and in their own time. And it's often not outright. So this can kind of show up in weird ways as irritability, numbness, like they'll be irritable with their kids, especially irritable with like other friends or family members. They'll take it out on someone else. Just numbness. Some of them will resort, unfortunately, to addictions, former addictions. They'll start partaking in that again, or just vague dissatisfaction with life in general. Like they just feel like an emptiness. Like I'm just not happy, but they don't necessarily know why. They can't name it, but it haunts them. It haunts them underneath the surface. It's like this undercurrent of what could have been. But it's not drama or breakdown. It's just this kind of quiet emptiness that they will try to push away and pretend that it isn't there. So let's talk for a minute about what if part of them does regret what happened and maybe even thinks about reaching out. Like you can imagine them typing out something to say to you and then deleting it. This is something a DA would do. I'm gonna like type something out and then no, that's stupid, or that's too vulnerable. More than likely that's too vulnerable. That exposes me too much. What if I get rejected again? Here's the crazy part is, even if you're the one that was asked to leave, if they were the one to break up, or they were the one to ask for the divorce, and you were the one to physically leave, let's say you left the house that you shared, they can still blame you for being the one who left, even though they initiated the severance and the breakup. Because in their minds, they've been rejected again. They weren't enough. And really, truly at their core is that defective core wound of I'm not enough. So why would I reach out anyway? Because I'm not enough. I can't give them what they need. So they may believe that it's too late, that the bridge has already been burned. And they will convince themselves of this very fully and completely, and tell themselves, you know what, it's just not worth it. The bridge it's already over. The divorce has been finalized, or, now whatever the case, they've moved away, they've moved on. They're probably assuming that you're already involved with somebody, even if you're not. They may feel ashamed, and then that shame will turn to silence, because shame does that. Shame likes to exist in the dark recesses and corners of our homes and of our minds and of our memories. It doesn't like the light of day. And they may fantasize about reaching out again, like I just said, but talk themselves out of it, or tell themselves it wouldn't matter to you now. So remember how a dismissive avoidant, it's unilaterally decision to leave. Well, this is sort of like in this place after the breakup, when you desperately probably want them to reach out, they're convincing themselves of how you feel. They think they know how you feel. It's kind of distorted. So they do nothing, and they tell themselves, convince themselves rather, that it's better this way. It's better if I do nothing. It's better if I just let them go. They're probably already moved on. Why would I want to interfere with their life now? Because truly a DA at their core feels like a burden. They're a burden on people because they feel very unhinged and unhealed and broken. But here's the thing, and I'm going to leave you with this. This is the most important part. You're not responsible for whether or not they heal. And whether or not they ever reach out to you again, you get to give yourself that closure. Find, a grief counselor or a therapist, or someone like myself who can walk you through hypnosis, through working with your subconscious, working with your parts, understanding your attachment style, who can get to the other side of this and have a deeper understanding of who you truly are and what you truly want with a partner. You were responsible for how you left, and you were responsible for how you handled things. And if you did that with clarity and courage and grace, then you can really commend yourself. And even if you didn't, even if it got messy like breakups and divorces do, you can be okay with that too, because you're a human being. But whatever they do or don't do now, including reaching out to you or ever asking for that conversation, it doesn't reflect your worth. Rather, it reflects their limitations, their inability to meet you where you're at. And I think that's where the pain really lies, is they couldn't meet me where I was at. And that version of them that you have in your head, and that's what my guided visualization is all about, is releasing that version of them. Because that version of them maybe existed in small doses and increments, but it wasn't sustainable. True healing, this is the truth, okay? True healing takes time and effort. It takes dedication and consistency. It takes application of what you're learning. It's so much more than just going to therapy. It's so much more than just going to a group. It's so much more than reading a book or watching or listening to a podcast or watching a documentary. We have to apply these things to our life every single day, like flexing a muscle. If we want to get fit, we have to do it regularly. We have to lift weights or go for a walk or do yoga regularly. It has to become a habit. It has to be habitual healing. And the likelihood of somebody who's avoided themselves for their entire life and avoided consequences and avoided truly not analyzing, emotionally processing pain, for them to just suddenly wake up one day, even with a broken heart, that's not enough. It has to be something internal within them that makes them really want to stop living this way. And not you or anyone else can ever convince them that they need to heal. This is an inside job. And this is what I want everyone to understand. It's an inside job to heal, and it's always going to be an inside job. So save your life vest for yourself, because you need it. And really what your inner child needs the most at this time, yes, is understanding of what the hell just happened. because it can feel like literally can feel like your whole life just got set on fire when you go through a breakup with an avoidant. And I can tell you, as a healing, fearful avoidant, that we feel extremely deeply. Now, dismissive avoidance and fearful avoidance are different, and they operate from a totally different vantage point, totally different neurological vantage point, okay, nervous system vantage point. But I will tell you that there are so many times where I myself have wanted to reach out to my ex and I didn't, and I stopped myself. Fear of vulnerability, fear of being seen, fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, all of those things. They're very real, and they can really be commanding. They can command you not to do something as much as they can command you to do something. So I want you guys to sit with these words from this video. This is powerful, and just let the words impact you in whatever way they will. But remember, this is your healing. This is an opportunity for you to come home to yourself in the most powerful, significant way. Wishing you lots of love. I was going to say speedy healing, but I just wish you healing in whatever way that comes, in whatever way the lessons are going to come for your soul, because you orchestrated this on a soul level. So wishing for you to heal at your own pace and your own time to learn everything you came here to learn. Take good care.